Every generation gets told the same story about progress. Quote, yes, there will be disruption. Yes, some jobs will disappear, but new ones will be created. The economy will adapt. It always does, end quote. And historically, that story held up. The weavers displaced by the Industrial Revolution eventually found work in factories. Factory workers displaced by computers eventually found work in services. The arc was painful, but it bent forward toward more jobs, more prosperity, more people lifted up. But here's the question nobody in the TED talk wants to sit with. What happened to the people in the middle? Let's talk real numbers for a second. The last major wave of automation, roughly 1990 to 2010, wiped out millions of middle-skill, middle-income jobs. Routine tasks, data entry, assembly, bookkeeping, gone. And the research tells a grim story. Most of those workers did not seamlessly transition into better jobs. Many moved into lower-wage service work. Many dropped out of the workforce entirely. Communities built around single industries, manufacturing towns, call center cities didn't bounce back. They collapsed. Economists like Daron Acemoglu at MIT have challenged the Sunny consensus. His research suggests that for every robot introduced per 1,000 workers, multiple jobs are lost, and the replacement jobs, when they come, are often worse. So when we say progress, we should be honest. Progress for whom? This is where philosophy gets its hands dirty. Let's start with John Rawls, one of the most important political philosophers of the 20th century. Rawls asks us to imagine designing society from behind a veil of ignorance. You don't know if you're born rich or poor, skilled or unskilled, in a growing sector or dying one. You don't know if you'll be the one whose job gets automated away at 52 with a mortgage and kids at school. Behind that veil, what kind of society do you design? Rawls suggests you choose a society that maximizes the position of the worst off, not the average, the floor, because you might be on the floor. Under the logic, the automation revolution as it currently operates is deeply unjust. The gains are concentrated at the top. The costs are distributed at the bottom. That's not a market failure, that's a policy. Now let's flip it. Let's hear from the utilitarians. Jeremy Bentham, John Stuart Mill, their framework asks, what produces the greatest good for the greatest number? And if automation produces massive economic growth, lowers prices, improves healthcare, extends lives, maybe the math still works out positive, even with disruption. The utilitarian says train displaced workers, expand social safety nets, redistribute gains through taxation, and the net outcome is still a win. And honestly, that's not a crazy position. Automation has produced enormous aggregate wealth. But here's the utilitarian's uncomfortable obligation. You don't get to count the aggregated win and ignore the individual suffering. The utilitarian calculus requires you to actually compensate the losers, not just promise to. And we have consistently, historically failed to do that. We get the automation, we forget the compensation. Here's a thought experiment for you. Imagine a pill that, if taken by society, would double everyone's average standard of living, but would permanently eliminate the economic prospects of 15% of the population. No recovery, no transition, just left behind. Would you take it? Most people instinctively say no, and yet described in the dry language of GDP growth and productivity gains, that's roughly the deal we've been making and accepting for decades. The language of progress hides ethics. When we call it disruption instead of harm, we make it easier to look away. So who should bear the cost of progress? Here's my take and pushback on this in the comments. I mean it. The cost should be borne by those who capture the gains. The means companies deploying automation. That means shareholders. That means governments that collect taxes on productivity. Not the 54-year-old truck drivers whose livelihood evaporates because self-driving technology crossed an economic threshold. That's not anti-technology. I'm not saying stop the machines. I'm saying you don't get to celebrate the innovation without owning the obligation. Some countries are experimenting with robot taxes, others with universal basic income pilots. Finland, Kenya, Stockton, California. The results are nuanced but not discouraging. What they all share is a simple premise. The benefits of automation should be socialized, not just the disruption. Rawls would approve. Even a utilitarian doing the math honestly would approve. The only ones who wouldn't, the ones who've already captured the gains and would prefer we keep calling it progress without asking who paid for it. That's the conversation, that's the reckoning, and it's not coming, it's already here.